Hello friends, welcome into another video. I am Das Food, and today we are going to do something that I think is pretty fun. What I want to do here is I want to take every survivor in the game, each one of them, and I want to say, as a guy who plays a lot of killer, now I play a lot of both sides, so I'm not entirely comfortable calling myself a killer main because I play a lot on both sides of the aisle there, right? But I do play a lot of killer, and I want to say, hey, when we're loading into a lobby, and I see that these survivors are in it, how does that make me feel? And I think it goes on a bit of a spectrum, right? So you see over here on the left side, we have "You scare me, stay away." And this is like being in the woods and coming across a bear. It's very terrifying. However, you also have the other side of the spectrum, "You make me laugh." This is completely the opposite. These are the ones who you look at and you assume, boom, this is going to be the weak link of the team. Now, I realize that one of the downsides of making this video is that somebody could watch this who's really good at the game and be like, I'm gonna choose one of these "you make me laugh" people, and I'm going to defy the odds. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna shock food. But you know what? If you take that kind of effort, more power to you. More power to you if you tune into this YouTuber with just a little over 100 subscribers, and that changes the entire way you play the game. I actually think that's awesome. Please let me know if you do that. But I'm not going to waste too much of your time because we do have a lot to get to. So we're going to do this one alphabetically. We're going to start with Ace and we're going to end with Zarina. Now, I do realize that 4 of them are covered up by my little PNG tuber, but that's all good. We can certainly make do. It's Ace, Adam, Jane, and Jeff. And starting off with Ace, well, I guess whenever I'm talking about one, we'll drag them up here so everybody can see who we're talking about. Ace, man. Ace is interesting because generally I think of Ace as being pretty bad. I face a lot of bad Aces. However, occasionally you'll get an Ace. They'll always be dressed really flamboyantly. You know, he's got some of the more out there cosmetics in the game, and they'll always be dressed just absolutely wacky. And sometimes you get an Ace that's pretty cracked at the game. Overall, though, I do find most Aces to not be very good. I find that most Aces I go up against are either goofballs who aren't taking the game seriously, or they're wannabes who are not very good at the game. So we're gonna put Ace somewhere in this area. We might come through later and kind of tinker with some of the final positions, but for the most part, yeah, I don't find Aces to be all that impressive. Next up, we have Adam. Adam is not one who I seem to, first off, see very much. I was going to mention that I don't see many Aces, but then I thought, no, let's save this for the ones I really don't see a lot of. So with Adam, I feel like if I play 20 games and see one Adam, that's probably a bit of an upset. I really don't see many Adams. The ones I do see don't tend to be very good. I can't recall ever being looped extremely well by an Adam. I think the big issue with Adam is he's got 3 base perks that go against the tryhard mentality, right? So with Adam, you have Pebble, which is the meme perk of all meme perks. You have Autodidact, which is also a meme perk. And then you have Deliverance, which, while not a meme, it's one that people kind of throw themselves at the killer. They're so desperate to get that Deliverance play, and then spend the next, like, what, minute and a half being broken. I think it's just a minute, actually, but yeah, I would say Adam falls comfortably into the "you make me laugh" category, and it's kind of a shame because I really, really like Adam. I think he's got some really cool cosmetics. I think that his perks are fun, if not super useful. I would like to see more Adams. Please play more Adam. Next up, we have Ash. Now, this one, there was a time Ash would have gone way over here. When the game first came out and Medal of Man... Not when the game first came out, I'm sorry, when Ash first came out, and Medal of Man was an SSS+++ tier perk. Yeah, he was terrifying. Nowadays, he's a character that I really only see people who are fans of the Evil Dead franchise playing, which, if you're not a fan, you should be. They're good movies. But yeah, I don't know. I would not say that Ash is especially terrifying to me. I've faced a few good Ashes, but I'm gonna put him a little behind Ace here. He's not super terrifying. I do not get too worried when I see an Ash. Next up, Bill Overbeck. Let's go, Bill. He's one of the survivors I've put a lot of time into myself, which definitely hurts his ranking. But I can't actually factor in my play, which again is subpar. I'm going to factor in the fact that Bills tend to be friends before gens. They are absolutely altruism oriented. They tend to have been playing the game for a long time. Bills are terrifying. Bills are very, very scary, and I think he comfortably slides into this "you scare me" range. I am never happy to see that I'm going against a Bill. The only reason I'm not putting him at the peak of this is because they do tend to be extremely altruistic, and killers can swing altruism to work in their favor. So that's a downside for Bill, but overall he is very scary, very scary. Next up, we have Cheryl, and it seems like the meta on Cheryl has kind of settled into decent players tend to play Cheryl. I don't think that she's by any means. I don't think that she's extremely good, but I've seen some decent Cheryls. I would say I see more good Cheryls than bad Cheryls, but to me she is kind of right up on that line. So that's where we're gonna put her. We're gonna put her down here a little bit. I see more good Cheryls than bad Cheryls, but with that being said, I've seen plenty of pretty bad Cheryls too. So this is not one. In fact, you know what? I'm actually going to slide her over because this is not one who I see in the pregame lobby and I think, oh no, I'm gonna have to sweat this one out. Sometimes that turns out to be the case, but for the most part, I tend to like Cheryls. Next up, we have Claudette. Claudette has a bit of an infamous reputation, and in my experience, it's very well earned. But I'm not going to put her here at the tippy point. And the reason for that is because a lot of wannabe bully squads play Claudette. They know that Claudette and Nea are the two you're supposed to play when you want to be a bully squad, and they're just not good enough to do that. So I'm gonna put Claudette here behind Bill. There are plenty of really, really good Claudettes who can be very frustrating to go against, and I will say that I generally expect a sweaty game when I see Claudettes, but yeah, overall, I don't know. I'm not that bothered by Claudette compared to some of them who are going to come later. Next up, we have David. David is frustrating in some ways because, in my experience, Davids tend to play like assholes. Maybe that's not your experience, but it is mine. And the only saving grace, I would say, is that Davids tend to not be very good. So he's going to go on the other side of this dividing line from Cheryl. They tend to be really sweaty, really toxic. I don't tend to enjoy my games against David. But with that being said, they also tend to not be very good. So they scare me a little bit because I know it's not going to be a fun game. But yeah. Dwight, oh gosh. Dwight, he goes straight in the middle. He's going straight in the middle over these two. Dwight is going to be thoroughly in this area at the very point, or this area at the very point. Dwight has no middle ground, and therefore he goes in the middle ground. Dwight, I cannot explain to you. Dwight, I just never know what to expect with him. He will either be absolutely god tier at the game, or he'll have just gotten it and be terrible. Those are the options. Elodie! So there was a time I really liked facing Elodies. Here lately, I feel like I'm seeing more good Elodies. Here lately, I feel like I'm seeing more and more Elodies who are pretty good at the game. So when I see Elodie in the pregame lobby, I don't really know how to feel, right? I don't know extremely well what it is I'm supposed to feel when I see an Elodie. I'm gonna put her over here with Bill and Claudette. I'm not actually. I'll put her over here. I'm not as afraid of her as I am of Bill's or Claudette's, but I would say I generally expect better play out of her than I expect from David. So that's at least one thing. I've definitely played against some pretty fun Elodies, but I've also played against quite a few not so fun. Next up, we have Felix. I love Felix. I also never see Felix. Yeah, I gotta be honest, I thought Felix would be a really popular one that a lot of people main, but I just do not see Felix's. And in my experience with Felix, he tends to be pretty bad. I'm gonna put him over here. I'm gonna put him pretty comfortably over here. I would put him lower, but I just don't have enough sample size with him. I do not see Felix's, so it's kind of hard to say. Maybe with his new like sexy pajamas that came out over Christmas, maybe we'll see more players playing him, and he can either scooch his way into the red or go further into the green. I don't know, but Yeah, that's my general takeaway there. Fengmin. Yeah, straight to this part of the chart, right? I am terrified of Fangs. Fangs tend to be pretty good at the game. They tend to be extremely toxic. If you see a Fang with a flashlight, just consider not loading into that game. Consider dodging that lobby. Fangs tend to be some of the meanest players in the game, and oh gosh, I am never happy to see a Fang in my lobby. I do not like seeing Fangs in my lobby. Same goes for Jake. Most of the original 4 characters, a bit of a spoiler alert here, have pretty nasty reputations. And while I understand that Dwight is listed directly in the middle, I think he's probably the only one who's going to get that treatment. Just to kind of give you a bit of a spoiler there, Jake's gonna go. Actually, I'm gonna put Jake ahead of Claudette even. And I know some people are gonna say that's oh, that's blaspheme. I put them close, so they're close. But I generally find that Jakes are a little bit better at the game. And they tend, I don't know. I find Jakes tend to be them a lot more than Claudette's. Claudette's will do the whole blendette thing and they'll use nothing but meta perks and all that, but Jakes are the ones who tend to like to teabag and clicky click and follow you around and just try to make your life a living hell. I do not enjoy Jake games. Next up, Jane. Janes are interesting, right? Because I'm going to describe the Jane experience in a way that might offend some, but it's only going to offend you because it's true, right? Janes are the ones that you go, and if they're a streamer, you go and they have all this stuff about love everybody, be kind, and then you watch their stream and they're teabagging and clicking and oh, you fucking loser. Janes tend to be some of the meanest players in the game. With that being said, there are some genuinely sweet people that play Jane. I don't find that to be the common occurrence, but I don't know. I know a few Jane mains who are really nice, so I'm gonna put her here. I'm not gonna put her any higher than that, but I'm gonna say, just as a quick aside, if your description on Twitch is all about loving each other and being kind, make sure you reflect that in your behavior. Like, I'm not getting up on my soapbox here. I'm just saying, right? I'm just saying, let's love one another. And if you want to be an asshole, but don't say you're not an asshole. Like, come on, that's just lying at that point. Next up, we have Jeff Johansson. Now, I'm a Jeff main, and I find that I am fairly emblematic of what Jeff mains look like. Jeff mains tend to play the game at a more relaxed pace. They don't tend to be super goal-oriented. I find Jeff mains generally like to have a good time. And because they like to have a good time, they're not sweating it out. I think Jeff is probably... I think he's probably going at the very end here. Jeff is just not a very scary guy to see in your lobby, if I'm being entirely honest. Next up, we have Jill Valentine. And in the case of Jill, I find that a lot of Jills are not super great at the game. Jills don't tend to be excessively sweaty, and I think one reason for that is licensed characters have this habit of attracting people who like the license and therefore play as the character, which makes sense, right? That's why you get licensed characters, so people will come into the game and play those characters that they know and love. In the case of Jill, I just don't find that the cream of the crop are playing her. I find Jill to generally be a bit on the weaker side. I'm not extremely impressed with what I've seen from Jill players. Maybe that's a harsh ranking, but actually, I'm trying to look ahead a little bit and see if I'm actually gonna put her a little further back. I do not run into many good Jills. Next up, we have Jonah. If anybody has played Jonah, that shocks me. I saw a couple Jonahs the week he was released, and then, oh gosh, maybe like just a light smattering since then. But in my experience, Jonahs do not tend to be overwhelmingly sweaty. They do like to try to get their boons up. I think boon players tend to really like getting out there and setting boons. And I realize once you unlock the teachable, anybody can have it. But there's certainly there's kind of this thing where whatever perks a survivor comes out with tends to set the tone for how they're played. So you have some of the survivors with not so great perks, like these 3 over here, and they're obviously not taken very seriously. Then you have guys like Bill, who have borrowed time and Unbreakable, and he tends to be played by the more serious players. So it is kind of interesting. I also think that just the longer a character's been in the game, the more that they're gonna have time to attract maybe a more toxic, try-hard portion of the player base. So you have all of the original ones obviously have a lot of very, very aggressive players. In the case of Jonah, he is the newest survivor at the time of recording this. His perks are what I would call kind of middle tier. I haven't encountered a toxic Jonah yet. I'm going to put him here, but I'm going to say that there's nobody in this list that has the potential to vary more wildly in the coming months than Jonah, just because he's got so little film out on him, right? We'll see how we feel about this if I ever redo this in like a year from now or something. Next up, we have Kate. Kate Denson is generally a menace. I find Kates tend to be pretty aggressive. They go after what they want. I am generally afraid of Kates. And in fact, what we're going to do is we're going to move Jake over a little bit. We're going to move Claudette over a little bit. And we're going to put Kate kind of where they were. I don't think she's as scary as them, but she tends to be one that I'm very afraid of. The same goes for Lori. Lori is another good example of a survivor, the community around a survivor adapting to the perks that survivor was released with. So Lori came out with Decisive Strike, which to this day is still a pretty ridiculous perk. Her other two perks are garbage, but it doesn't matter. Decisive Strike is very, very strong. In the case of Lori, yeah, they're probably going to be toxic. They're probably going to try extremely hard, and they're definitely going to have Decisive Strike, so they're going to go right there. Leon is definitely the better between himself and Jill. I find Leon's to be a lot more capable in terms of looping. Now, do I find a lot of toxic Leons? Not particularly. We'll put them up here. They tend to be good at the game, but I can't say I've encountered just a ton of toxic Leons. You know, look, every character on here, I've encountered a toxic one. I've been playing this game for years and years. I've seen every one of these characters in a toxic game. That's fine. This is overall impressions, right? This is loading into the lobby. How do these characters make me feel? And very few characters scare me as much as Meg Thomas. Meg is actually going to surpass her other OG friends here. I'm trying to do it where she's just barely ahead of them. There we go. She is the scariest of the original four. I almost said original three because I put Dwight here. She's the scariest of the original four. I definitely am not super excited to see Meg Thomas. There was a time where it was like, oh, that's a guaranteed adrenaline. Nowadays, it's not as guaranteed because you have Circle of Healing, which has kind of knocked adrenaline down a few pegs, though it's still, I think, a pretty amazingly powerful perk. Yeah, Megs are terrifying. Megs, they're going to get the objective done, and they're going to let you hear about it in the post-game chat. Next up, we have a bit of an anomaly with Michaela. So Michaela is also pretty new, but unlike Jonah, she has established a pretty clear personality for me. Michaelas tend to be toxic. That is my experience. Michaelas tend to be toxic. However, they also tend to be terrible at the game. Like, I cannot explain that. I can't explain why it is that this character who seems to attract the really toxic players also attracts the bad toxic players. So I'm going to put her kind of here, fill some of this big open space, because she doesn't quite make me laugh because I expect that she's going to be a little sweaty, but she definitely doesn't scare me because I can't really name that many games where I've had good Michaelas. They tend to be boon obsessed, of course, and that is their detriment. They are so desperate to get those boons up that I think they overcommit to the concept sometimes. Next up, we have Nancy, and I'm gonna say it. I think this one's gonna be surprising to some people. Nancy is far and away the scariest survivor I can see. Nancy, oh my gosh, Nancy tends to be so amazingly toxic. I mean, the meanest players in the game play Nancy, and I can't understand it. I cannot understand it. The character in the show is obviously so nice, so lovely, so sweet. Not Nancy in Dead by Daylight. I am always terrified when I see a Nancy. She's the anti-Steve, honestly. Next up is Nea. I don't have to tell you that Neas have a reputation for being toxic, and we could speculate as to why Neas are so toxic. I do think there's a certain part of it that has to do with Noob 3, who kind of popularized the concept of being toxic in the game. Even though I think Noob 3 is a great content creator, I don't think that anyone can deny, people would watch those videos and then, oh, I want to go do that. Usually to meaner results, Yeah, Neas are toxic, and they tend to also be pretty good at the game. So Nea definitely earns her spot up here. I'm going to put her a little bit ahead of Feng. Quentin is one who seems to have had an explosion in the last like year and a half. A lot of people seem to be playing Quentin now, and they tend to be pretty mean. I don't exactly know why. I don't know why that's happening, but Quentins tend to be a pretty nasty bunch. Maybe it's because he kind of used to look like a gremlin, maybe not. I'm going to put him somewhere in here. Quentin, and it's kind of getting a little clustered in here. I should have made the pictures a little smaller, but well, too late now. Next up, we have Steve. Steve's come in one of two varieties, and for that reason, he gets to go right with Dwight. He's right there with Dwight. In fact, let's put Dwight there. Let's put Steve there. Beautiful. Yeah, Steve, he's one of the extremes, and I don't find much in the way of divergence from that fact. Next up, we have Detective Tap. If I load into a lobby and I see a Tap, I mean, I guess I'm a little afraid because I'm like, this guy's got nothing to lose. What is happening? But overall, I tend to find that Taps they're definitely objective oriented. I'll give them that one. I don't know that I would say I'm especially afraid of Detective Tap, but yeah, I don't know. We're gonna put Tap here, kind of with Jonah, between Jonah and Cheryl. I don't mind seeing Taps. I just assume that whoever's playing this Tap is an absolute mad lad. Let me know down below if you are a mad lad. Next up, we have Yui. I'm not going to do the bit again of putting her in the middle because of they're this way or this way. Yui tends to be a little more on the casual side. I don't generally fear Yuis in the same way that I would say I fear some of the others. I think some people play Yui, and forgive me, but I think some people play Yui because they think she's hot. I don't think they're playing her because it's like, oh well, this is the character I want to sweat it out with. I think that attractiveness plays a massive role. I think people who play Felix tend to do it because he's attractive. I think, yada yada, we could go through. I mean, I guess, like some people play Jeff because they think that dad bod is just magnificent, and I'm inclined to agree. But yeah, I don't know. I've definitely seen some sweaty Yuis, but for the most part, I don't have a problem with it. If I see a Yui in the pregame, I definitely don't think, oh no, this one's gonna hurt. Same goes for Yunjin. I don't actually have much of an issue with Yunjin. For as nasty as the character of Yunjin is, she's so cutthroat and do anything to get to the top. I find that Yunjin players, like both of them, tend to be pretty laid back, nothing too dramatic. So I was gonna put her over here because I don't like this big open spot, but then I realized I would kind of say when it comes to Survivor, Jeff is my main, but then Yunjin is kind of my backup main, and it's really see-through if I put my mains over here, right? So we're gonna put her here. We're gonna keep this. I don't want to put her there though because she doesn't tend to be as toxic as Michaela's. You know what? We're gonna do it. It's my list. I can do it. Next up, we have Zarina. I used to say I never really see Zarina's, and that made me sad. But now it seems I've seen enough Zarinas to know that that was a good thing I wasn't seeing Zarina's. They tend to be so good at the game. Terrifying. Terrifying. I am terrified when I see a Zarina. They tend to be so good, and I can't do anything about it. I mean, I used to always say, oh man, I really wish I saw more Zarinas because she's such a cool character design, good backstory, No, I've seen enough Zarinas. No more, please. But that's gonna do it. That is my impressions of how scared I am of each survivor. Remember, as I tried to point out throughout this, while toxicity plays a certain role, this is not a toxic ranking. This is a ranking of when I see you in the pregame lobby, does it scare me or does it make me laugh a little bit? And toxicity plays a part in that, but more than that, it's skill plus toxicity, right? Those both factor in. So you have some of them in the you scare me side that are generally, I think of just as being more talented, like the Bills of the world. And then you have some that I think of as being more toxic, like the Nancys of the world, which definitely plays a role. But, as Michaela shows, if I think of you as being toxic, but utterly without talent, I'm not going to put you in the you scare me because I'm actually going to look forward to the game. So that's going to do it for me. Please let me know down below how you feel about this one. I have probably insulted your main in some way, shape, or form, But hey, at least it's not like last time where I did a chart that looked a lot like this and it was which killers I could beat up and the entire world hated it. So please let me know below how you feel about it. Comment your rankings. Like, let me know. Obviously, you don't have to do like 1 through 26 or however many survivors. Just let me know who scares you the most, who makes you laugh, you know, something like that. Just have fun with it. But that's going to do it for me. Until next time, I've been Dust Food. Bye, friends.